Chapter 9, Trial Closing. Master the art of trial closing, asking for the sale. 3 easy surefire techniques. So what is a trial closing? Trial closing is checking in with the prospect to get their opinion. This differs from actual closing as the goal, as it is only to get feedback and additional information from your prospect and not intended to get their final decision. The goal of trial closing is to gather information to identify if the prospect is on board, if you are heading in the right direction, and if you are on a vehicle they would like to own. Trial closes are to help you flush out and identify any challenges, concerns, or objections that might halt the sale. What happens when you fail to ask someone to buy your vehicle? The short version is that you don't get the sale. The longer version is that they buy from someone else, don't buy at all, or defer their decision. Asking trial closing questions will uncover what the customer is thinking. There are typically 4 responses from a customer when asked a trial closing question. 1. They'll voice a concern. 2. They'll state an objection. 3. They'll answer with a question. 4. They'll make some form of commitment, often with a concession. How you make a sale. Ask customer to buy. One of the most intriguing and elusive sales questions of all time is simply this. Why do salespeople spend a great deal of time, effort, energy, and commitment to get in front of a prospect only to let the opportunity to sell their vehicles slip away from them? Why does that happen? Is it a sense of caution that's driven by a desire not to offend or to avoid being offended yourself when your prospect says no? Is it an inability to create such value in the mind of the prospect that the salesperson never really knows when, precisely, to ask a trial close question? Could it be a simple lack of knowledge when it comes to knowing precisely how to ask someone a trial close question? It's probably a little bit of all of these things. The truth is that the answer is not an easy one. So let's look at some of the causes. Possible causes. A lack of assertiveness on the part of the salesperson. A lack of sales training on the part of the salesperson. A lack of self-confidence or self-worth on the part of the salesperson. A lack of belief in the product on the part of the salesperson. A lack of sales process training that leads to the sale on the part of the salesperson. There are probably a lot of other reasons too. That being said, how do you fix the problem? Prepare, practice, and role play. Let me provide 3 trial closes to help you begin finalizing transactions immediately. When to use this trial closes are added steps used throughout the selling process to improve sales effectiveness. Examples. Based on our discussion earlier, the navigation system on this car is something you would get a lot of use out of. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Customer? This car model will provide you with the fuel economy you said you've been looking for, Mr. Customer. Am I right? You told me earlier that you would need enough trunk space for 2 to 3 large suitcases, is that right? It looks like this trunk will give you more than enough space. That's even better than you were looking for, isn't it, Mr. Customer? Mission statements build trust. Mission statements build trust, and regardless, it gives you a very good indication of where the sale is headed right from the beginning. If they indicate that it is their first visit, you should have a prepared dealership mission statement. Example, our mission here at the ABC Motor Group is to provide the highest quality service to our customers in the sale and repair of their motor vehicles. We will operate professionally managed dealerships committed to being the leader in the market areas we serve. We treat every customer as an honored guest in our home. Every person, every time, without fail. We don't sell cars. We just help people buy them. We build confidence, integrity, credibility, and trust with everyone we meet. Start trial closing at the greeting. After your greeting and fact-finding/qualifying phase, or as you transition into the selection and presentation steps, tell the customer why everyone likes to do business at your dealership. Tell them about your repeat customers and how so many past customers refer their friends. These credibility statements, along with your confidence, are an important element in building rapport and trust, making you likable, increasing your customer's comfort level. After you've greeted and welcomed them into your dealership, positive statements help you explain to the prospect why they benefit, the advantages of doing business with your dealership, and even more specifically, doing business with you. Write embrace from the beginning. When the customer gives you any sort of pushback, for example, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you mentioned that. Start trial closing at the greeting. For they say, instance, after asking them if it will be their first purchase from the dealership, well, let's see what kind of prices you come up with. Embrace the pushback by saying, I'm glad you brought that up because price is the easiest part of my job. Followed by, we never lose a deal over price. All we need to do is make sure we have the right vehicle. Followed by, if I have the right vehicle and provide you agreeable terms, we should be able to do business today. Shouldn't we? Especially now, after you have had a positive response, begin filling in all the advantages of doing business with you. And why today? And how their timing couldn't be better. Why buy? Now, trial close with the radio. The second trial close is a technique that I used during the demonstration drive. The best time to utilize this technique is on the second half of the demonstration drive. In the first half of the demonstration drive, you explain the features and benefits of your vehicle and address the customer's needs through your demonstration. In the second half of the demonstration drive, with your customer now behind the wheel, you say to your customer, Mr. Customer, let's get the radio stations set on your radio. The last thing I want to do is call you tomorrow, when you have already been driving the car for a full day, and try to explain it over the phone. It will be a lot easier for me to set the stations for you now. Do you listen to FM or AM more often? Let's start with the FM stations. What do you listen to most? Proceed setting every station FM or AM. This gives you a good indication of a buying signal or a non-buying signal. If your prospect is reluctant to set the stations, it sends a signal that either A, this is not the car they want to buy. Why would I want to set the stations on a car L wouldn't want to buy? B, they are preoccupied by price and are not enjoying the buying experience. If they say, don't worry about the radio stations. Let's see what kind of price you could come up with. Then you answer again, confidently, price is the easiest part of my job. It's actually tougher to do the settings on the radio than it is to give you a deal that would make you happy. Any pushback you get from the customer can be addressed by saying, Mr. Customer, anybody who doesn't set the radio buttons, it's usually one of two things. Either A, this is not the car you want to buy, and why would you want to set the stations on the car you don't want to buy? B, you are so focused on price that you are not having any fun enjoying the buying process. Folks should have fun. You don't do this that often. I will put together a price that I'm sure will meet your needs in every way. Let's just set the radio stations so that you can enjoy the music on the way home. On a scale of 1 to 10, the third trial close is a close that you use right before you sit down with your customer and begin writing up the sale. This technique is done somewhere between the end of the demo ride and before you sit down with a customer to write it up. This technique accomplishes two things. 1. Gauge the commitment level of the customer to buy now. 2. Reduce emphasis on price during negotiation. This is not to be confused with, folks, if we come up with an agreeable number, is there anything that would prevent you from buying the car today? For that matter, it's not to be confused with any similar trial closes like that. All these techniques are actually a good way to set up for the following technique. Folks, before I sit down with you and write it up so you could take it home today, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 meaning slow down, I have a couple questions and concerns I need to address before we write anything up, and with 10 meaning zip it up, write it up, and let me take it home today. Where do you see yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 inches? This technique actually includes 2 separate trial closes. One being, before I sit down, write this up for you, so you could take it home today, and the other being the 1 to 10 number of commitment. On a scale of 1 to 10, rarely will you get an answer on either end of the spectrum, 1 or 10. Generally, your response would be something like 6, 7, or 8. After hearing the customer give you a 6, 7, or 8, your comeback should be, wow. I thought it was a higher number than that. At that point, a customer might move themselves up another point or two, showing that they are easier to negotiate with. Or they might stop at this point and tell you why they specifically justify their number at 6, 7, or 8. Keep in mind, the factors could be anything at this point, like color, equipment, timing, etc. If you have truly sold the vehicle and have an emotional and mental commitment on the purchase, at this point, their biggest concern could likely be price/payment. After hearing a number that is unlikely to be a 10, act surprised and come back with 7? I thought it would be higher than that. A common response by the customer will most likely be something like, well, let's see what kind of price you come up with. Let's see what kind of deal you come up with. If you give me a good price, you could make me an 11. Your response would be, Mr. Customer, we have 62 employees here at the dealership who all care about your business. That's how we feed our families. 100% customer satisfaction is our dealership's ultimate goal, in both your buying and ownership experience. So before I sit down and write this up for you, what can any one of us say or do to make you a 10? Again, price always comes up. If you make me a good deal, I'll be at 11. On a scale of 1 to 10. At this point, it would be an excellent time to take the total focus off of price. An example would be, Mr. Customer, I appreciate how important price is to you, as it should be. However, when making the second largest purchase, outside of a home, what would you say are the second and third most important considerations in purchasing a vehicle besides price? What you are trying to do is get the focus off price as being the one determining factor when you want to have three things involved in the close. If a customer struggles, then help out with other factors. Service, reputation, community involvement, hours of service operation, convenience, loaner cars, and the extra things that separate you from other dealerships. Come to an agreement on two specific things besides price before you sit down and negotiate. This way, your close sounds more like, well, before we sat down, you said there were three things that were important to you in purchasing a car. We have number one, we have number two, and we're so close on the last thing. Price. Close more customers in first 90 seconds. What if I told you that you had a chance to virtually close more customers on a sale within the first 90 seconds you talked to them? How about having your customers imagining themselves doing business with you all within seconds of your initial greeting and handshake as you welcome them to the dealership? Think about it. Paint a picture in the mind of your customers that allows them to envision themselves doing business with you from the moment you meet. Sadly, extensive research has shown that two immediate things happen that turn off more prospects than anything else, right from the moment when the customer arrives at your dealership. Take note. The first is salespeople standing around doing nothing and/or jumping out at them as soon as they arrive, or the moment they get out of their car. The second and more important is salespeople not listening. Did you hear that? I said not listening. Okay, that's better. Prospects feel that salespeople are not listening to them and not concerned with fulfilling their needs, which often results in showing them vehicles that do not address or satisfy their needs. As far as the first bone of contention, waiting around the front door, hovering around the lot, or jumping out at them when they get out of their car, is all in the timing and approach. If that's you, don't worry about it now, but you need to take this book seriously. If you are already taking this book seriously, it is because you are looking to change and improve. Close more customers in first 90 seconds. As for the not listening part, if that is you, then start listening. Listen when the customer speaks. Ask qualifying questions to show you genuinely care about satisfying their needs and tell them so. Consider the fact, within the first 90 seconds of a customer meeting you, you'll be compared, stereotyped, to any and all other salespeople they've met or heard about. Here's your chance to shine. Exceed expectations from the start. With the following simple technique, you'll send a message to your customer, exceeding expectations, and virtually closing the sale in the first 90 seconds. Upon your greeting, armed with a clipboard, legal pad, or notepad, all you have to say to the customer is, Mr. Customer, I'm going to take some notes. Your business is very important to me, and I want to make sure I get all the information and details correctly so I can get the exact vehicle you're looking for. After that, I will work with my manager to price it properly for you. How does that sound? Sound simple? That's because it is, and yet it's often never done. Of 1,000 customers surveyed while shopping for a vehicle, over 93% said that not only did they consider this a more professional approach, but it also made a big difference in their vehicle purchase decision. So think about it. Now the customer is thinking, I hope they have what I'm looking for because I would like to buy from this salesperson. After my 30 years of teaching salespeople and managers to be more proactive, I have yet to hear from one salesperson who could not get positive results using this technique. Showing you care creates happier customers.